the scuffle of the matadors between Rwanda and Congo, who is the leading cause of the violence that is in Rwanda and Congo. Is it Kagame, the president of Rwanda, or is Tshisekedi, Felix Tshisekedi, the president of DRC? Don't miss today. You are live at Elliot Band's UG, and remember, it's a cool Friday evening. You are live, and it's me, Rionija Victor, giving you updates all over the world, East African, Ugandan, globally. That's why Elliot Band's UG is here. And always remember to subscribe, watch, tune, following our social media platforms like Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, to be updated with full information all over the world. Today we are at the border of DRC and Rwanda, trying to analyze the violence that is there. Who is the leading cause? Is it Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, or Felix Tshisekedi, the president of DRC? Today, don't miss with Amon Mark, the very gentleman you are seeing here. Is good at analyzing such issues. That's why today is here. Thank you for watching. Always follow Elliot Brands UG. You are live at Elliot Brands UG, Mr. Amon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Victor, for hosting me. I'm called Amon Mark to identify myself once again.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to accept my invitation.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So, according to how you have introduced the topic today, the Rwanda and DRC
Scuffle.
Yeah, when the two bulls are fighting.
Yeah.
Of course, the ones that suffer are those on ground.
Those on ground, the people, those innocent people actually,
yeah,
they're the one
actually,
that suffer the consequences.
Actually, when DRC, through those miseries in Rwanda border, a lot of property was destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by now, we can say an estimate of 2 to 6 people have died.
And most of them got wounded.
Yeah, we said estimate. We are not sure of the exact figure, but according to the news, I think we have lost some lives there.
Yeah, that's where my question comes. Who do you think is the leading cause of the? Is it Rwanda or DRC?
According to the observant bodies in the Rwanda and DRC developments, that is the UN. There is UN. There are many groups in DRC, and according to the critics,
ADF,
whatever. But according to the information we have, is that UN and DRC, all the two bodies, accuse Rwanda of infiltrating in DRC politics. Take an example. Let's see the genesis of this conflict.
Right.
The genesis of this scuffle started way back in genocide, 1944.
1944.
Yes.
Wow.
That is the genesis of Rwanda DRC conflict. When this happened, there are many Hutus who ran into exile, and the closest neighbor was DRC. And many other countries that neighbor Rwanda.
It's where I was coming, because there are very many countries that are near Rwanda, like Uganda, DRC, Burundi, TZ, very many.
So Rwanda had a lot of refugees outside. So the Tutsi, this M20, the genesis, the Tutsi went in DRC and launched a rebel group that was aimed at fighting the possible Hutus who ran into exile and are funding the Hutus against the Tutsis in Rwanda. So in 2009, it was incorporated. Those rebels, the Tutsi rebels, and agreements were signed to allow them join the DRC armed forces. However, that's when we see them being called M23. M23 means March 23.
March 23.
Yeah, March March 23.
I'm getting it from you.
Yes, it is what, because that incorporation was made or was agreed with DRC armed forces on March 23.
That's why it was called M23.
That's why it was called M23. Now, when in 2012, the M23 accused the DRC of not clinging on, of not making sure that they fulfill the agreements reached on in 2009.
Which group of people was accusing?
M23 accused the DRC government of not following the agreement that was signed to let them into the army.
There's where I'm not getting you well.
In
the DRC government of 2009,
yes, signed an agreement with the Tutsi rebels by then.
Oh, yeah?
They signed an agreement to make them part of the DRC armed forces. Okay? In 2012, M23 broke up from that agreement, saying that DRC has not fulfilled its obligation of making the M23 part of the DRC armed forces. So they started to rebel. Then, in 2012, the same year, DRC labeled M23 as a rebellious group.
DRC
Labeled it, named it a rebellious group.
DRC naming M23
a rebel group.
Go ahead.
So, for all those periods, M23 has raided DRC, killed people, did something. But every time they raid, DRC and UN accuse Rwanda of funding M23. Remember Genesis, M23 originated from the Tutsi.
Like how you have explained to me from Genesis, or from the beginning. I see now how should I call it? The origin of the M23 is now Rwanda.
Yes.
Beginning from 1944?
1994.
Oh, 1994.
From that genocide. So remember, these are Tutsi soldiers being incorporated in DRC army, but DRC does not respect their presence. Then they break off and they make themselves M23. DRC declares them as a rebel group. It starts to terrorize people of North Kivu. That's the North Kivu province in DRC. You get?
I get it now.
But every time that scuffle happens, the DRC government and the UN, who are observing that issue there, they accuse Rwanda of aiding them. Of course, M23 is an army group.
Yeah.
They can't access tankers. A tank is not a pistol that you're going to buy it and smuggle it. You can't smuggle a tanker. That means a tanker is gold.
That means such a rebel group
to get a tanker.
It must have like
a reliable source.
A reliable source of it.
DRC is surrounded by Uganda, is surrounded by Burundi, Rwanda. Can you smuggle a tanker through Rwandan border?
Yeah.
Through Ugandan border?
Yeah, ask me how.
How?
It's where I'll come now. We are now in a general modern, how should I call it? In a modern way. They can easily get those things from other European countries.
Not that. Then you pass it where?
You pass
A
it
rebel group, you pass it where? Where do you pass it?
in the air.
In the air, you land it
Yeah.
where?
You run in the Congo.
You cannot.
But you run it there
That's
illegally.
impossible. That's impossible.
Really?
Congo is in control of its airspace.
Mm.
It might have failed to control its eastern border,
Mm.
but it is in control of its air space.
But remember,
You
when it's a
cannot
global
smuggle.
group,
You
when
can,
it's a global group,
it's not a
they
global
look
group. M23
It's not a rebel group?
It's just a rebel group in there.
in
It
there.
is it is insignificant to smuggle a tanker through any means. It means that tanker was imported by a recognized country. You get me?
I get.
By a recognized country, then it was given to M23.
M23.
Can you purchase a tanker now, even if you had money?
But those
Can you purchase it?
me, I myself, I can't. Because now I'm alone. But that those rebel groups, I'm not on. I'm not.
Yeah, they
basing
have
on
money. They might have
M23
money to
only.
buy. They might have money to buy a tank. We
Mm.
have seen wars. We have seen terrorists in Somalia. Terrorists. They cannot have a tanker.
Mm.
They have these cars. They have the maximum.
So what you want to me? They have those countries that are
I
high.
have not said there is any country. I have not pointed. This what I'm giving is according to UN and Rwanda and
Rwanda and
DRC government.
Congo.
They are choosing DRC of aim of supporting M23.
They are choosing DRC or Congo.
They are choosing
I mean
Rwanda.
DRC or Rwanda.
DRC and UN
Mm.
are choosing Rwanda of aiding M23. Remember, this attack comes shortly after DRC has joined the East African community. Is there an invisible hand that is aiding the stabilities in DRC because it has joined the East African community?
I don't see it.
You don't think that is possible? Does East African community have enemies as a community? Does it have enemies that are working to stop?
They might be there.
So can we
You
also
rather know.
can we
Recently, I have seen the crossing border of Rwanda and Uganda. Now, if such things happen between Rwanda and Congo,
now
so
you can't generalize like that, but we saw a letter. We saw a letter back then, I think some months ago, when M23 first attacked Eastern Congo. The Rwandan armed forces, the army of Rwanda, in a press release, wrote a letter telling us that those people who attacked were running into Uganda. We did not get an official statement from Uganda, but Uganda authorities taken them as claims. Then of recent, we received another letter that was released by Rwandan press saying that DRC had fired rockets into
did you
Rwanda.
happen to get like some of those letters?
Yeah, we shall share
also
them.
that you can share it.
We shall share them with our viewers. Those
Can
letters.
you read it now?
No. Those letters, surely they point at something. There has been a scuffle going on all along. Yes. So the tensions, but as we see in DRC, people are rioting
It's where now
around the border. They are rioting around the embassy of Rwanda.
Around the border.
Even the embassy of Rwanda in Kinshasa. They are rioting, telling Rwanda to stop meddling in DRC politics.
In DRC politics. So what you want to mean? Those people of DRC, they are choosing Rwanda like they are the one causing violence in
Yes,
Congo.
yes. So now you should be feeling sorry for the Rwandans that are in DRC, what are they feeling at this time? How is the population in DRC reacting to the Rwandese in DRC? Are they safe?
No, they are not safe. I know how they are feeling inside.
Okay, so I think the UN has called on diplomatic means, has told the rioting parties to stop all the tendencies of violence. Rwanda should stop firing, DRC and DRC should stop firing. In other words, it's a ceasefire.
So what you want to mean, all countries are firing themselves?
Yes.
Or it's one, my
At
thought
this time,
only Congo is the one who's firing?
No. At this time, of course, what do you mean? If I fire, what do you mean? You hold your hands like this.
It depends.
It depends on where I fire.
It depends, yeah.
When I fire,
because like you might have my law. If I see like you're a mad person or you don't understand very well you're fighting me, I just ignore and move.
So who is mad in this issue? DRC?
So it's where I want you to analyze very well.
Now we have already talked. We have talked about the genesis of this war. What we are not getting? Rwanda also is saying DRC is lying. We are not helping M23. So what lies? We are waiting for what lies behind the curtains. The M23 does not claim that they are being aided by Rwanda.
And Rwanda also itself is not supporting it.
It is saying that it's not supporting it. But DRC,
but the
government of DRC and UN, United Nations, those are two bodies.
For them they are quoting.
Yes. Those are
Rwanda.
Two bodies. Two bodies, can they all judge wrongly?
So, like the way you are saying these things, where do you think these things will end?
These things will always end in diplomatic means. Rwanda needs to appreciate that DRC is a sovereign country that can decide the fate of its future. Also, DRC needs to acknowledge that Rwanda, if there is any disagreement, they should first sit before fighting. They should first seek diplomatic means before fighting, open fire.
What you are saying, that thing, it should be included those presidents of Rwanda and the Congo, like first, second, and Paul Kagame, that want to sit, or the parliament to sit.
Of course, already diplomatic tendencies have already started, I think, in Nairobi. So the UN will chair those talks, and we will wait for the outcomes. But for now, they have ordered a ceasefire. All parties should stop fighting and give chance to diplomacy.
If you talk of diplomacy, I see now, soon we might see the end of this case.
Yeah, it is not big. It is not big. It is not big.
It's just small issue.
It just needs,
like a peace talk.
They just need to sit on a round table and agree on some issues.
Okay.
Either to mute M23 completely. They can come in together and say, let's finish M23 completely and forever. Okay? The two countries can agree that let's combine efforts and mute M23. Or Rwanda should take back its what? M23 rebels. Because they are dissidents of Tutsi, should bring them back home.
All that one will come from the peace talk, from the table they will sit on and they agree. All. Okay, thank you for watching Elite Brands UG, and always remember to follow us on our YouTube platforms, on our social media platforms like YouTube. Everywhere you go, you find us. You are with Elite Brands, and it's me, Leonija Victor, with this gentleman, Amon Maka Chokwizuka, always analyzing issues, and you will always be updated